This event is brought to you by the Virginia Poverty Law Center. VPLC breaks down systemic barriers that keep low-income Virginians trapped in the cycle of poverty through education, advocacy, and litigation. This live event is for information and discussion purposes and should not be considered legal advice. Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood poverty lawyer Salaam Bhatti with some news you can use. Today we're going to talk about SNAP. Since COVID hit, that number has increased to over 746,000 of our neighbors who need help to put food on the table. And some areas saw applications increase triple, while Virginia Beach and the Eastern Shore area saw applications quadruple. That area was the hardest hit. With 78% of Americans having lived paycheck to paycheck before the crisis hit, that number has exploded now. And food is the number one thing that everybody obviously will be worrying about. Hunger, though, is more than just going to a food pantry and getting food from there. Food pantries cannot sustain what SNAP is able to do. The average SNAP benefit per person per meal is $1.30. Whereas for every meal that a food pantry can provide, SNAP can provide up to 10 meals. Because, hey, guess what? The government just has a bigger reach than what food pantries can do. So we need to do all that we can to strengthen SNAP. And we do that at VPLC in a variety of ways, including talking to our legislature, to our legislative assembly during the General Assembly time, and also advocating on the congressional level. If you'd like to become a voice in that advocacy space, feel free to send us a DM with your email and we'll get you on board. We also have a handy-dandy resource guide about SNAP, and it's available on our website at vahungersolutions.org, vahungersolutions.org, and it's a very simple, easy to read and understand guide on what SNAP is about and how you can qualify for SNAP too. We also have very handy-dandy charts right in your hand. So if you'd like a hard copy, send us a DM and we'd be happy to send it over to you as well. Now, what's really important, of course, is signing up for SNAP as well. I mean, that's how you're going to get the SNAP benefits. The best way to do it is to go online to commonhelp.virginia.gov. Again, that's commonhelp.virginia.gov. Now, more than ever, hunger is solvable in America, but it is closely tied to racism. Racism is as American as Thanksgiving turkey. Racism is sewn into the fabric of America so tightly that whenever people try to solve for it, it seems anti-American. To repair this, we must take a seam ripper and rip out every single policy which exists due to racism. Much of today's poverty exists because of it. And so let's take a quick look at the intersection of hunger and racism. The Brookings Institution reports that neighborhoods with a population is at least 50% black are valued at roughly half the price of homes in neighborhoods with no black residents. So you're probably thinking, why don't blacks just pick up and move somewhere else? Well, blacks are denied mortgages more than twice as often as whites. So more often than not, they're stuck. Low-income neighborhoods where the majority are minority, as a result, attract different types of stores. These neighborhoods will have dollar stores instead of grocery stores. They'll have fast food places instead of farmers markets. In fact, black neighborhoods have access to half as many grocery chains as white neighborhoods. And as we know, food is health. Because of this inaccessibility to fresh food, like fresh fruits and produce and meats, blacks are more likely to suffer from diabetes, obesity, heart issues, and kidney damage. These are all comorbidities that have exacerbated the death rate for black people when it comes to the coronavirus. So we see that racism feeds poverty in all of its forms. That's why it is so difficult to talk about these issues in isolation. But racism and poverty are man-made issues, which means that they are entirely solvable. Thanks to our colleagues at VPLC and people like you, we can and will solve these problems together. Thank you for joining us in this discussion today. To find out more about the topics we discussed, or in this video or in any other video that's going to come, or about the work we do at the Virginia Poverty Law Center, please visit us at vplc.org, where you'll find some excellent resources. Again, that website is vplc.org. Thank you. All right, thanks everybody for watching that video about SNAP and the intersection of racism and hunger. I'm happy to field some questions from the audience that's watching on Facebook, and see if you have any questions about SNAP, about the history of it maybe, or how it can be improved right here in our own state. I guess actually that's a really good place to start. There are some ways that SNAP can be improved in Virginia. One of those ways is to increase the SNAP minimum amount, the SNAP minimum benefit, from $16 to $30. So right now, if you are right at the border of what your income is, how much resources you have, or how much you have in savings, then you're going to get $16, and that's it. So a lot of people who are eligible and would receive $16 don't even bother applying, because $16, it's essentially a glorified coupon. So they just say, it's better off that I just save my time and not go through this whole hassle. What we're seeing is there is a trend of states. Maryland, our neighbor to the north, most recently moved from a $16 minimum benefit to a $30 minimum benefit. So the $16 comes from the federal government. The $14 is supplemented by the state. So it's a pretty good idea to be helping your fellow citizens out with some extra food, so that they can be a little extra healthier, and that will save costs down the road when it comes to healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to look at it from an economics model, but if you were looking at it from just a person-to-person model, it's good to keep each other, fed instead of fed up, which a lot of people are with the system. And so we try to do stuff to fix that. A little bit about the history of SNAP. I see somebody wrote that we need to have help for the homeless, and you're spot on. One of the pieces of legislation that we helped pass, or we fought for and advocated for this year, was something called the Restaurant Meals Program. And what this does is that this allows people who are elderly, disabled, or homeless to use their SNAP benefits at participating restaurants. Because currently, nobody is allowed to use SNAP benefits at any restaurant. But with the Restaurant Meals Program going into effect no later than January of next year, so DSS can start it anytime between now and then, those three categories of people, elderly, disabled, or homeless, will be able to use their SNAP benefits at a restaurant that participates. Typically what we're seeing is across the country where they do have the Restaurant Meals Program in effect, you'll have restaurants like Subway that will sign on to this. And it's really a great way for people to get a hot meal in their belly. And, everybody knows what difference it can make by having a hot meal in your belly. So that's going to be a really good way to help people out. A lot of homeless people don't sign up for SNAP because, where are they going to store the food that they would buy from a grocery store? How are they going to get to a grocery store? There's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of layers to poverty that you can't really look at in isolation. So one of those things, of course, is how do you get to a grocery store? If you are living a low income in a low income lifestyle. So we advocated for people who use SNAP to shop online and get it delivered. And that pilot program, or that program, just rolled out a couple weeks ago here in Virginia. But now that has another issue that we are, trying to solve as well: the issue of delivery costs. So SNAP benefits cannot be used to. You can't use your SNAP benefits to offset the costs of delivery. You would have to, take those $5, $7, $10 out of your own pocket to pay for those costs. So we're working to see if there's something we can do federally, maybe in the state, maybe work something out with Walmart and Walmart and Amazon and other vendors that would sign on to see if they would be happy to offset those costs. Amazon does have a minimum order, I believe, is $25. You can get free shipping after you spend $25,
But hey, remember, if you are one of those people that is getting the $16 minimum benefit, it's gonna be hard for you to get that $25 minimum to offset the $5-7. To a lot of us, $5-7 is nothing. That's the cost of convenience, right? But a lot of people can't afford that, and we have to really be mindful of that. We have a question. Is there any plan to have the type of supplement you described in Maryland happen in Virginia? We are working on it. It's going to be something that we will try for the Legislative Assembly next year, starting in January. We're going to get a lot of great tips from our my big brother in Maryland, Michael J. Wilson, over at Maryland Hunger Solutions, who was the driving force behind that initiative. So I really hope that you who are watching and will DM us your email addresses so that we can get you on board to advocate to your legislators. Because let me tell you, all politics is local. Your legislator loves getting information from you. Your legislator loves getting phone calls, emails, visits, because a lot of people don't visit them. A lot of people don't even know that they exist sometimes. So sometimes one call, one email, one note can make all the difference. So we really need everybody to be supporting this. And this is especially very important because we are in an economic downturn. I think they're saying the R word. I think they're saying recession is happening. So we don't know how much funding we will have to play with next year. But I hope that if we start getting the local lawmakers, hip to the trend of increasing that SNAP minimum benefit, then they'll be more likely to do it. And sometimes it could take a while. Sometimes you got to plant the seed, and over time it'll catch. So we can do that too. But we hope that we get your support as well. Special session. We don't really. I haven't heard yet what the theme of special session is going to be. If it's like coronavirus related, or if it's trying to reallocate the funding from the budget because a lot of things have changed. It's going to be a little difficult to get this in. I'm sure it can be addressed in different directions of, hey, we really need to help our low-income neighbors out because they need to eat and they need to be eating good food, and that way we can offset the costs down the line in healthcare facilities and all that, and it can help inject about $1.70 into an economic boost for every SNAP dollar that's used. I mean, there's plenty of arguments that we can use, but it's like, are we really going to be in a tight spot when it comes to special session? Once we know what they're going to be talking about, we can know better and how we can lobby there better. But again, we hope to have your support there too, so make sure we have your contact info. Let's see what else. That's one way. There's also something called broad-based categorical eligibility. That's something it's a long word. You probably fell asleep halfway from when I was talking about it, or when I said the words. But it's a way for people to be eligible for SNAP, which one, it takes out the resource test. So if you have a few $1,000s in your bank account in your savings because you're trying to save for something down the line, that's not going to count against you. It can also increase the income eligibility from 130% of the federal poverty line all the way up to like 200%. And usually the sweet spot is around 160% when you get the most people coming in. So that's something we tried year after year to get into Virginia, but year after year it didn't work. And now, as of last year, President Trump put in a policy change that he wants to eliminate broad-based categorical eligibility. So it is on the chopping block. We had this a great comment period where a lot of people from Virginia and all across the country commented against that policy change. So we're just waiting for, quote unquote, the verdict from the administration as to whether or not they will go through with it. There were 3 policy changes to SNAP last year. It was exhausting fighting all those policy changes, and they came one after the other. And one of them was approved by the administration, but a court put an injunction on it because it was slated to begin right around the time that the coronavirus pandemic was shutting everything down. And so out of the graciousness of a judge, we were able to stop people from going hungry during a crisis in this country. We don't know about those other 2 yet, so we don't know if they're going to move on that. We don't know. We just don't know about that right Let's see. Any other questions coming in? Mm-mm. I can tell you a little bit about the history of SNAP. Food stamps was the original word, the original phrase for SNAP. It started in the late 1930s, I think 1939, and this really helped a lot of people put food on the table. And then over time, food stamps became the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, and maybe like the mid 2010s, because there was a lot of negative association with the word food stamps. A lot of people thought it was, just not it had a lot of negativity associated with it. Same with the word welfare. A lot of people don't say welfare anymore because it's got the same negative association, and so they changed the name to Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Food stamps really was overhauled in Clinton's welfare reform of 1993, where he campaigned on ending welfare as we know it, and then he did that. But there was a lot of things that happened in that welfare reform, including the addition of this really cruel law that said if you have a drug felony on your record, you are banned for life from SNAP and another public benefit called TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. So the SNAP one is really big because people who are getting out of prison or jail don't have a lot of money. They don't have any money most often. They don't have friends who can really help them or family. And so when you're denying them SNAP benefits for life, the recidivism rates, and the studies have shown this conclusively, that recidivism rates go up if you deny people food. And they've also shown that when states have repealed this ban, and states are allowed to repeal this ban, then we see the recidivism rates decline. So finally, Virginia repealed that law wholly in complete form this year after many, many years of lobbying from us and some great partners from across the state. So July 1st, we will be able, if you have a drug felony on your record, you will be able to apply for SNAP and TANF as well. So make sure you go to commonhelp.virginia.gov and sign up and get those benefits. It's a long time coming, but we're glad that we're on the right side of history now. Now, that doesn't mean that if you had a drug felony on your record that your whole family was banned from SNAP or TANF. It just meant that you were excluded from the household. So if you're a family of 3, then you would only be getting benefits of 2 people, which is just messed up because what are you going to do? Not eat? And then on top of that, you were essentially serving a life sentence after you've already served your actual sentence, or paid for you've done the time for the crime that you did. So it was a double punishment, and it just wasn't right. And I'm surprised it didn't get repealed a lot sooner if you're talking about law and order. Oh, I did mention the online delivery. There are some stores that are not doing online delivery yet. They can sign up, but Amazon and Walmart are the two that are doing it in Virginia right now. There's other stores like Kroger, for example, where you can use your SNAP card online for pickup, for curbside pickup, so you can still get there and just pick it up instead of having to go inside. And that's important too, because you have a whole class of people who not only are working in service industry type jobs where they're interacting with people, and who also have very limited or no health care, who are now having to go into the grocery stores to interact with more people to get their groceries. So you're essentially just disregarding and subjugating them and making them have to go through some crazy hoops just to be able to live, especially during a pandemic. So it's very important that we have these types of measures that can help them. And online delivery, pickup models are great starts in that direction. Of course, it's not the end all be all, but it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, I'll take a couple more questions, then we can give you guys your evening back. Thanks, of course, for joining us on our Know Your Rights live video. It is something that we will be trying to do throughout, the year, so that you know what is happening in the policy world that we are, enmeshed in throughout our daily lives. And of course, we welcome your feedback. Is there something you think we are not doing? Is there something that you like that we are doing? Great emails are always welcome. Voicemails are always welcome, because oftentimes we all feel that social isolation, especially now that we can't go out as much. So make sure you keep calling people and emailing people. I was socially isolated for so long. It had been like 10 days since I had gone out to go shopping or something. And so when I was at a Costco, I'm walking around and I see somebody wearing a shirt that said Richmond, and I almost stopped her and said, "Oh my God, I'm from Richmond too. Like, which part are you from?" So that's it was messing with me for sure. Let's see. How does this relate to schools being closed and making sure kids are fed if school implements staggered school days? That's a deep question. That you are gaming into the future there, my friend. Well, let's talk a little bit about the schools being closed now and what's being done with school meals, and then we'll get into the second part. Schools were doing the parallel of their summer meals program while they were closed during the pandemic. So they were able to really marshal their resources quickly to get that done. Then the CARES Act created something called PEBT. That was a pandemic EBT. And EBT is the card that you use when you have a public benefit. So, for example, if you already are a SNAP participant, you already have an EBT card. So if you had a child in school who was getting free or reduced meals, then you got either a PEBT supplement on your SNAP card, or you received a PEBT card in the mail. And if you haven't received it yet, you should be getting it within the next week or so. If you have it by the end of June, let us know and we can look into it. So PEBT was something that offsets the costs of school meals. So let's say, for breakfast and lunch that your child was supposed to get, that total was let's say it was like $5.70 per day. Then there was like 65 days that were closed in school. So they multiplied that 570, or maybe it was like 6 something, times the amount of days that school was closed, and they put that amount on a card, and then they gave it to the parents of the children so that they can, buy the meals. Now, there are some schools where the entire division is receiving free meals. These are known as CEP school districts or schools, which means Community Eligibility Provision. And that's a federal program that says if your school has a certain amount of students living in poverty, then the whole school is eligible for free meals. And the schools will be reimbursed by the federal government for that. And what's great about this is that it takes away the stigmas associated with receiving free or reduced meals. If everybody's getting free meals, then nobody can really bully them on that. So if you are a CEP student's parent, then you got a PEBT card in the mail. When it comes to making sure kids are fed if school implements a staggered school day, then we're going to be waiting on guidance from the USDA as well as from the DSS and DOE on the state level to see how we can really accommodate for that. PEBT currently, since it was created just a few months ago, of course it can be changed and modified, or something new can be created as well, because currently PEBT is you're eligible for PEBT if your school was closed for a set number of days in a row. If some sort of staggered thing goes into effect, then PEBT as it is will not qualify. So they're going to have to make something new to make that happen. Right, unemployment. If somebody files for unemployment, can they get SNAP? Excellent question. Yes. So if you're Well, yes, with an asterisk. If your income has dropped to zero and your assets are below a certain level, then you are eligible for SNAP. So let's say you've lost your job, you filed for unemployment, but it's taking people weeks, if not months, to receive the unemployment benefits. So you can still apply for SNAP for that period of time where your income isn't coming. And then once the unemployment benefits start, then you let DSS know that, hey, I have an income now. So they will adjust that SNAP benefit accordingly. You don't want to be receiving unemployment benefits at a level that would make you ineligible for SNAP. No, let me flip it, reverse it. You don't want to be receiving SNAP benefits if your unemployment benefits would take you out of it. And that's because DSS will do its investigation later. It could be months, it could be years, and say, oh, you were overpaid, so you need to pay this back. So just be very mindful of that. But don't be scared. Just keep an open communication with your DSS worker and let them know that as soon as your unemployment benefits are coming in, you let them know. And so you are still eligible to apply if you're not getting any income. And of course, also wanted to add that that $600 extra amount that's coming with the pandemic unemployment, that counts towards your income too. I've heard that in some states it doesn't count, or in some programs that $600 doesn't count, but in the SNAP world, it does count. SNAP did get improved during this crisis. What was implemented was something called the emergency allotment. And what that did for the first couple months automatically was it gave everybody the maximum amount of benefits that their household would receive, that their household number would receive. So if you're a family of three, your max of benefits is, I believe, $509. So your family would get $509. If you're a family of three and you were only getting $200 on SNAP benefits before the pandemic, then in the first week of the month you would get your $200, and then it was in the middle of the month when that supplement came in, so an extra $309 would come in. Now, of course, unfortunately, if you're already getting the max, you didn't receive anything extra. So we were doing some advocacy on increasing that 15%, but jury's still out. We're pushing for advocacy on that. Tomorrow we have a letter going out to Congress and the White House to push for that increase, of the SNAP minimum benefit too. So if you are part of an organization, we would love for you to sign on to this letter. Please let us know by tonight if you would like to sign on to this letter on behalf of your organization. Again, shoot us a DM. Everything can happen via DMs today. A lot can happen via DMs today. Yeah, but I think that's about it. That's all the questions I see, unless they're coming in slow from my end. But those are some great questions and comments from all of you. Thank you for joining, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your day, to join us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, and you are, but you decided to take some time out of your day to learn a little bit about SNAP and see what you can do about helping people, helping our low-income neighbors, get a leg up, get up and get moving and get ahead. And that's really important because we are all in this together, but in different ways. Some people are feeling it more than others, and we really need to be watchful for them and doing whatever we can to help them out because we are on an elevator. We rise together and we fall together. And we've seen how we can fall together. So let's see how we can reverse that and let us rise together. Food banks, like I said in the video, food banks can only do so much. And we've seen the news pictures of food banks like in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where you had lines miles long because people couldn't even get SNAP benefits or get to the grocery store or whatever it was. So that we can't rely on food banks, that's for sure. We don't qualify for any benefits other than the food bank once per month when the kids were in elementary, they bought home a food backpack twice a month, and that really helped our food budget. Yeah. Um, for the person who commented on not qualifying for benefits, uh, give it a shot. I mean, see if you under the new um, if you have seen a reduction in your income or have lost your income, see if you can apply for SNAP benefits again. They no longer have the program in middle school or high school. The entire country qualifies for the free breakfast, or the entire county qualifies for the free breakfast and lunch programs. And I never realized just how much we benefited from those meals until they were gone. Um, I Have you received the PEBT card? That should be supplementing uh, the help you need for the meals. But you're right. You're spot on that these programs are very impactful. So this year we advocated for a piece of legislation that it wasn't legislation. It was an item in the budget that would subsidize the reduced meal program, and that means there's the free meals and then there's the reduced price meals. Uh, what the state would do is the state would pay for all of the reduced price meals, so all the students who are receiving reduced price meals would now be receiving free meals, and that of course would be very helpful for a lot of families. Unfortunately, um, that that budget that budget item is kind of in limbo right now because pretty much every budget item is in limbo right now. So if you have legislators who, especially those who are on the education subcommittee or committees, uh, let them know. You know, I want to see that reduced price meal line item subsidy is still in whatever you put out after a special session because it's incredibly important. We do have some talking points, so hey, guess what? DM us and we can get you on board with that. I never realized just how much we benefit from those meals until they were gone. Then the schools had certain days for meal pickups, but then due to staff having COVID, the pickups began on Fridays from 10 to 11 at the YMCA or the high school. Drive up, pop the trunk, receive, give thanks for your blessings, wish the provider safety and health, and drive home. Unfortunately, we have not been able to go to the Friday pickup for the past 2 months for many reasons beyond our control. We are very rural on the ESVA, Eastern Shore of Virginia, and it would be wonderful if the Volunteer Delivery Corps here could be funded to help deliver to families who do not have transportation or are otherwise prevented from going to the 1 hour on Fridays. I hear you. And Luke, if you want to send me a DM on this, I can get in touch with the people at the DOE to see if we can accommodate for something there and change it so that you can all get the help you need. I know that a lot of schools did change from coming once a day to coming maybe a couple times a week, and then you would just receive a few days worth of food, and so that helped people who had transportation issues not have to come so often. But there's still more that can be done, and we're here to fight on your behalf to make sure it can get done. But yeah, and then just circling back to Todd's question earlier about needing to help the homeless. Unfortunately, there is so much that needs to be done to help the homeless, and we hope that people go out and keep fighting for them and getting them the help that they need. Marianne, thanks for your comment. Marianne, let us know how more we can be of help in this space. Claudia, I hope we were able to answer your question about SNAP and unemployment. And Luke, thanks for your question. Nathaniel, yeah, we are trying for that supplement here. We would love your voice in here. And so it's 7:10 p.m. on the East Coast. We want to thank you so much for joining us. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact us via, guess what, DM, or email us at info@vplc.org. Check out our resources on vplc.org. We have a great, nice little circle on the website where you can click to see what the COVID-19 resources are. And hey, I don't even know what the word is, but make sure you check out our radio show on WRIR 97.3 FM Wednesdays at 12:30 p.m. You can also go on to Spotify and look for the Justice Report. You might not find it because we just put it on Spotify yesterday. So go to anchor.fm, and you can find the Justice Report there. I'm sure we'll be seeing some posts on our Facebook and our Twitter that links you to the shows. Yesterday, we just had a really great show with Delegate Joshua Cole, and we talked about the intersection of poverty and racism. It's a must listen to really give you some more clarity as to what is going on right now, not just in Richmond, not just throughout the state, but across the world. So definitely check that out. These are 30-minute shows, so it's something to listen to with your family. They're family friendly and hopefully informative. We want to hear from you, so come on, give it a try. If you like what you see, turn off the TV and Zoom. I don't know how many millennials are watching, but that was a show from the 90s. All right, so I think that about does it for tonight. Thanks again so much, everybody. Make sure you keep an eye on this Facebook page to see when our next live session is. Thanks so much. Stay safe out there.